know, back before the Trans-Canada highways were built, this was a common scene around rural Nova Scotia. You would see service stations, you would see country roads, winding country roads, and you'd meet people like Bert Fulmore. Bert Fulmore is, how old, sir?
I was 89 a few weeks ago.
Well, happy belated birthday. You were born in the house just around the corner?
Next door.
And you've lived here your entire life?
No, I lived here until I got through college in '57. Moved back here in '86.
Okay, so there's a connection here. Your father had a store, a country store.
Around 50 years.
In Central Economy.
Right over in that corner, first one over, across the road.
And there are all these wonderful vehicles here, a collection that's taken you years to come up with. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about some of this history and some of this heritage. But again, your background, you grew up as the son of a merchant, and you started driving, how old were you?
About 12.
How did you get away with that?
Well, it was, you got pretty good at it.
Well, that
no,
was...
I'll tell you, in those days, through the war, people to work were all overseas.
Right.
Young people, not only me, young people stepped into some of those places. And I didn't go far, but we delivered 4 miles each way of his store.
So you were driving the delivery truck?
I delivered parcels to near every house around here, one time or another.
So people would order groceries?
They'd call it in, they'd call the order in, and we delivered 3 times a week.
So this online shopping, this is old. This is old-fashioned. Doing that years ago.
And the flour came in 98-pound bags.
And molasses by the barrel, of course.
Well, by the 2-gallon jug, and feed was in 100-pound bags. And you learned how to do that when you didn't weigh 100 pounds.
Tell me about your dad. Your father wanted to make sure that you had an education.
Yes. Excuse me. Dad was in the First World War, and his mother died, and he was very young. He never had a dad. And he was brought up, excuse me, by his aunt. And when he come back from overseas, he peddled meat and fish with a horse and wagon on the shore. And he established his first store across the road where the tower is in about, I think it was, 29. The store was open 6 days a week from 7 in the morning till 10 at night. Dad never opened Sunday unless somebody needed something, because he used to keep the odd bit of medicine stuff, you know, the basics. And when they needed something, he never refused to, to accommodate them.
So here you are, you're 12, 13, you're driving delivery, and then it comes to this story about the delivery vehicle that your father had, and that somehow it got used as a school bus. Tell me about that, Bert.
Well, I went to school in Bass River for 4 years, and the old panel did that trip. We had up to 10 people in it on occasion, sitting on butter boxes.
That was the seating in the back.
Butter came in 60-pound wooden boxes. I have several over in the garage there.
Yeah.
We had a reunion of the ones that went to school with me.
Okay, about 20 years ago, was it?
Yeah. There's an ad in there, and somebody asked him, I guess I forget how it went, did you have any accidents? And girl answered, and she said, no, but we had a lot of anxious moments.
So what is it? What kind of vehicle
is it? That is a 37 Chev half-ton panel delivery. Most of the grocery stores used panels because you kept your stuff undercover in bad weather. Right. And so it was used for that. Dad bought it, the original one in 1939, used, and bought it in Truro.
Whatever happened to that original truck?
It went out back over next door and drifted away pieces. And then I suddenly realized, what have you done?
So that's
then
when
I started looking for another one, and they were very few people. The only people who bought panels were stores and grocery stores and service trucks, and consequently, there was nothing left. When
They were
finished
bought
with
for a job, and when
but
that job was done.
This, I don't know what the history of this in the States, but and the one good thing, Mike, my youngest son, excuse me, everything you see, he did.
Pretty job.
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you, it was a lot of work, but we've had so much fun with that. All of them, I enjoy them all.
So why? What's happening here? This emotion. When you're talking about Mike doing that?
Sorry about that.
No, Bert. These are stories. This is a connection. This is why it's about more than machines.
Excuse me. I was composed. I'm blessed with a wonderful wife and family. Doug was my oldest son. And we lost him 2 years ago. And he was part of all this. So that comes home today. But anyway, I'm very sorry I lose my composure at times, but I can't help. He was a real car fella, and these things were, I can't think of a better hobby, particularly if you have boys, and I had 4 of them, than the car hobby. There's a lot worse things out there.
Yes, certainly.
Okay?
Would be. Absolutely.
And that's what you realize when you get older and look around and you did a few things right and they helped you.
And this is love. This is what what love looks like.
And I got the most understanding wife that one could ever wish for.
I really am blown away with the collection that you have, Bert, and these vehicles are just awesome. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the engines and what we have here, because obviously with new technology, modern technology, interference engines, all that happens with the modern vehicle, these are pretty straightforward pieces of mechanical equipment.
They're original. Even the carburetors are original. Both these engines are original.
And we were talking, they're fairly similar, but just variable.
Small increase in bore. They're Babbitt rods.
So what's a Babbitt rod?
It does not have an insert. It's poured Babbitt in the factories.
Okay.
And all of the older cars, a lot of them, started out with Babbitt. Chev hung on to it until 1952.
Okay. Was there a weakness there? Or was
Well, to a point there was. It depended on what they were. I think the insert at high RPMs would maybe stand it better, but this has still got the original engine in it. It's 85 years old, and it still has Babbitt rods.
Seems to be holding up all right.
And they never gave you any trouble. And that was I learned to manage them, for want of a better word. There was a number of things that they had shims in them to start with.
Okay.
And the motor oils, that was another thing. The motor oils when these things were sold was terrible stuff.
Just a straight 40 weight or a 30 weight?
We used to call it fish oil.
Oh no.
But seriously, the oils really left a lot. And as time went on, as you know, oils just improved immensely. And whether you had Babbitt or an insert,
right,
it wasn't a very good place to be, if we put it that way.
I've heard stories where some would light a little fire underneath, and do you ever have to do that?
Definitely did,
yeah.
Right, a bonfire, particularly the old trucks in the lumber woods, that they had difficulty towing them. And I remember where there were booster cables. booster cables came along, I would say in the mid-40s, and that was quite a little item, to be honest with you. It saved a lot of towing.
It would too.
And when you towed, if it was snow and ice, a tow vehicle had trouble towing the fella that needed a tow. So there was a whole lot of things happened there that made it much more livable.
Closed easy.
Yeah, that was easier.
Aye. Just like that. Oh.
Power steer.
Yes, Armstrong steering. Makes your arm strong. Is that another radio or what?
That's a radio.
Look at that.
Yeah, and it matches the dash.
So when you were driving the delivery truck, did it have a radio?
No, I had to sing.
Oh, you sing, okay.
No, you wouldn't be able to hear it. I had a Hollywood muffler on it.
Oh, okay.
Left or right, Thomas?
Right, please.
Right.
You said a Hollywood muffler. I don't even know what that is.
Well, that was one that you could see right through it. No tailpipe.
Okay. It was barely there.
Very mellow. These old 6-cylinders really topped out.
There we go. So it's pretty straightforward. It's, as you say, pretty basic. It's transportation, but it rides well.
Dad died in he was 70, would have been 81.
Okay.
Yeah, 1981. He was 80. He was born. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. He died in 88. 89, born in 97, so he was 92.
Now, did he have a passion for vehicles? Was that something
Not
he cared?
really. It was just something to get things done with.
Right, it was
But he
utilitarian.
always accommodated me. I started doing engine jobs over in the next door yard, and there was a place that we used to buy parts, and he never refused to get anything for me.
Right.
He accommodated my driving. But anyway, he certainly was a wonderful dad.
Sure, he'd be very proud. Very proud of.
So I never got it out of my system. He said I had gas in my blood. I said, maybe I still do.
Maybe you still do.
Yeah, Dad said I was born with a steering wheel in my hand.
Would have been painful for your mother.
Yeah, I had a wonderful mom too.
yeah.
And she accommodated all the greasy hands, greasy clothes.
The main reason behind what we're doing is we call the show MariTIME Machines, because these are mechanical devices. These are pieces of engineering. These are machines that not only are living in the present, but they are a connection.
Oh, no question.
To where we came from.
No question. I mean, there was no power steering, no power. These are pretty primitive things, but that's all they had. Everybody was in the same boat. And I used to, I used to drive to school, come home, load this with groceries, and go both ways and deliver them. It was 6 o'clock at night, and half froze to death before you got back. But work never hurt you.
You spent a lot of time on this road when you were delivering for the family business.
I sure did. We had a lot of winters. I mean, winter started anytime after 1st November. You really, and many winters it stayed too. And there's a lot of by roads. This is a little road up here to the right.
Yeah.
There was a half a dozen houses on that. 3 or 4 down there. You had to deliver parcels.
How far was your route?
4 miles down this way and 4 miles the other way, roughly.
Gotcha. Now, you talked a little bit with me about how this truck came to be, how this van came to be. You had a lot of people who helped you out.
You mean this one? Well, I found an ad in a book where I had looked the land. This fella was looking for parts, and I got down there and I decided to go see him.
Yep.
And I did, and I liked what he wasn't ready to he didn't know what to do. He was going to fix it, and the next day he learned it. But he wanted to go to somebody who was going to fix it. So I kept in touch with him and kept in touch. I hauled one home and it was so bad we couldn't fix it. So I went back to him again and told him what I planned to do with it. Back and forth, and finally we made a deal on the phone.
Okay, yep. So when did you officially get your driver's license?
July 49.
July of 49. Okay, so did you drive to Truro to apply for it?
No, there was a fellow up Bass River, and I'd been up there before I had my license, getting him to do it. He had a little service station.
Yep.
He was the inspector. So I sent away a week ahead of time.
Yep.
They came, and I went out, and he was kind of a tough. And he said, well, what do you want? I said, I came to get a driver's test.
Yep.
Young fella, he said, if you can't drive by now, there's not a damn thing I can do for you. Give me that sign. And you know where I went that night?
Tell me.
Went down and saw Lou, my wife.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the vehicle that's behind us. One of the things that surprises me in a lot of ways are vehicles that are survivors. Vehicles that when they were built, the whole idea was that they were made to use. They were made to work.
Right.
And there was nothing more sacred to the rural farm community and life than that truck.
Oh, yeah.
And this particular truck has been in this area not quite as long as you have.
Yeah, I beat it. It's 85 years old, and I'm 89.
This is a 1936 General Motors truck.
It's a 37.
37.
And it was bought new by the gentleman that owned the store before Dad bought it.
Okay.
And it was the first year that GMC half-tons were built in Canada.
So this was built in Oshawa.
Yes.
And it made its way to Nova Scotia.
Made its way to Nova Scotia, and my dad, Mr. Soley, passed away a relatively young man, and my dad bought his business.
Yep.
The truck did not go with the business. It went up to a farmer up the road,
Okay.
Mr. McLaughlin, and he ran it for years, a typical farm truck, all little feed from Truro, he passed away, and it sat in the premises up here for a number of years, and in 1970 I was able to buy it. And
So you've had the truck for 52
I've had it
years.
for 50 years.
Yeah.
And we completely restored it. Two of my good friends, they're both gone, both younger than me. Trevor Brown and Norman Snow did the work on this truck. It's the original color. I bought 130 sticks of lead, which you use to fix fenders.
Right.
And it worked.
No, it's very clean
No,
for a
so-
work truck.
Yeah, it's the first year that GMC pickups, half-tons, were built in Canada. And it was, I think there was only 300 of them. So I'm really, really fortunate to have it.
This is a piece of economy history.
Yeah.
So what's it like driving this, Bert?
It renews your youth, and I need that.
Did you know everybody in the community back when you were doing deliveries?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
You definitely did know.
And they knew you.
Yeah. They knew I knew what they would buy in everything, too.
Yeah.
Some people always had junk for vinegar, molasses.
Yep.
Some people never did.
Right.
But you got to know. And also, there were some mighty good cooks. They always had a cookie or something.
Oh,
for you
nice.
Saturday afternoon. The real older vehicles, they're in the way on occasion. But if you drive it, we put 25,000 miles on the panel.
Right.
I drove it back to the fellow I bought it from, showed him what it was done after it was finished. He was New York. I went back to see him after that, and I was so glad I did.
Yeah.
Because it took me 2 years to convince him that why I wanted it. And
You
he
had to
knew
tell him the
that,
story.
and I was able to take it back, and he was very, very pleased.
And he
And this, the fact that it's from the community and never left, I'm not often, you're lucky enough.
You're a guardian of history.
Yeah, well, possibly.
There we are. We call this MariTIME machines because it's about these pieces of mechanical equipment that transport us, not just physically, but emotionally. A bicycle. You still drive a bicycle every day?
Pretty near every evening, if the weather's decent, I have an old balloon tire bike that I use. It rides better. And I don't go far. I go about a mile, actually.
Now, this particular bicycle is made to look like, well, it's painted the same color as the panel van.
That's exactly right. And it was left in an old home up the road, and I think it's an early 30s model. It was a CCM. And it stayed there for years, and the boys said, oh, there were twin boys, and I asked, they were breaking into the house, and I asked him, "There's the old bikes?" He said, "Yes." He says, "Come up and get this one before they take it." So that was about the time that Mike was doing the panel, so we kind of went overboard on this.
You were telling me earlier that, growing up in a small community, that every once in a while someone like Hank Snow would roll through with his horse and wagon.
Well, yeah, he had the trailer with the horse in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't on the horse, but he brought
it
he brought his
behind
horse with him.
Yeah.
And he played down here.
The fire hall up here was the original village hall, and I guess you're asking me if I ever saw Hank again.
Well, the reason I ask is because on this car it says Nashville, 1991.
Yep. And we were there to the Chevy Club big show they have every few years. And Lou and I went, and Mike and Cindy joined us there, and they had a whole program around the Grand Ole Opry area.
Yep.
Hank was one of the stars that night.
Wow.
People were putting so-and-so had their birthday, and so Cindy went up and handed him a piece of paper, and he was getting somebody to read them up until that time. So when he saw economy on it, he took it and he said, "Folks," he says, "I'm going to read this one myself." He says, "Bert Fulmore from Economy Mountain, Nova Scotia is here celebrating his birthday today." And he said, "Folks, I know where Economy Mountain is. And anybody who was over there in the wintertime also knows where it is. Happy birthday." He said. So
that was quite a present.
I just went through the roof.
That is quite the story.
And it was really ended up our trip beautifully.
Well, Bert, I got to say, I really, really appreciate having some time with you and your vehicles, your
pleasure.
collection, and
My
the stories.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Heck of a day.